This is a video about Vivian Richards, one of the greatest cricketers the world has seen. Over the years, there have been a lot of very good players at Test match level, just a handful of great ones, and Viv undoubtedly fits into the latter category, not just because of the runs he made or the way he walked out onto the field, but also because of his superb entertainment value. When you go and pay your money at the gate to watch Viv Richards play, you know you are going to get full value for money. The bowler? Well, the bowler's not quite so well off because Vivian always regarded him as an enemy and someone to be vanquished. And I've never seen anyone in 40 years do it better. Well, you may not have thought that if you had a quick glance at the score sheet of Viv's debut match against India way back in 1974. Because against one of the best spin attacks in the world, he missed out there with 4 and 3, Chandrasekhar getting him on both occasions. Revenge was sweet just 2 weeks later, when against Bedi, Prasanna and Venkatragavan, he hit 192 not out, and a great career was launched. Not, though, Viv, without a hiccup or two, because you went to Australia straight after, where Clive Lloyd pulled what I thought at the time was an absolute masterstroke, because he put you into bat at number 1.
It was a pretty sort of a difficult series at the beginning, because before I left home, and even before we went on to India, people said that the Australian trip would have been the sort of ultimate test. And we found out, because in the end we were beaten 5-1. But I thought I was doing reasonably well early on, maybe getting my little 30s, 40s and things like that. And then I couldn't carry on. And I think Clive identified that there was a problem, maybe with me concentrating. And that's when I think we decided to call in Dr. Rudy Webster. And he came in and we had a chat, concerning maybe how I felt when I reached those particular totals. And then after that, we went on to Tassie. And after being in Tasmania, they said, well, Viv, you also have a little problem, which I think you do not like to wait. And by putting me in first, because I think we had a slight problem in a sense, where Gordon wasn't getting any runs in Australia at the time. And we were looking for a replacement, sort of a guy who could have filled that particular position.
And it happened in Tasmania, did it?
Yes, it started in Tasmania, actually, where I was put in and I scored a century in the first innings and repeated that in the second innings. So it started things, and it gave me all the confidence which I think I needed to have going into the Adelaide Test match, and it all started from there.
101 in Adelaide, 50 and 98, and then against India as number 3 batsman in the Caribbean, 142, 130 and 177. Nice little prelude, Viv, for the 1976 tour of England, and I just have a feeling that at the start of that tour, the word grovel had a hand in you having the greatest ever series by a West Indian.
Well, I think Tony, as you know, is pretty, Tony Greig, I'm talking about, is pretty, we call it a guy who expresses himself in maybe some ways that maybe people are not going to like, maybe something like some of my ways in particular. But he said that I don't think it had the effect in a sense of how a lot of people made it out to be. But knowing Tony Greig and knowing the ability which he does possess to fight, I think he was an individual who gave it his all, and you cannot underestimate these people at all. So with that, everyone listened that night when we heard him saying those words, and I think a few who said it's a word that's used pretty common in South Africa, so he's bringing it into this country and obviously letting it into the game of cricket. And guys felt personally hurt in a sense, that he has no sort of a way in which to put it, like, well, he was going to dictate terms in that way, because it's a very strong word to use, maybe about your opponent. And everyone got stuck in, and what I think was most important, that we had a good year where everyone clicked. I think that was a time where we saw maybe the beginning of a Michael Holding as well, because he bowled magnificently well in that series on maybe some slow tracks, you know, because as you know, it was a sort of a dry summer. We hadn't had much rain. So the wickets weren't the best, I think, you know, for fast bowling, and he had some good results. So with that, I think everyone benefited in a sense, you know, where they made whatever contribution which made that tour to be a wonderful tour, especially for what was said, you know, by Tony.
Well, it certainly did click, and we're going to watch the start of that click now. 232 clicks, in fact, the score you made in the first Test match at Trent Bridge. That's beautiful stroke, a half-century partnership. It went through Brian Close, but it was hit very powerfully.
My word, he misses very little that's short of a length. Barely cracking that through mid-wicket. Each time any English bowlers drop short to Richards, he's in position so quickly. Short again. He must surely learn his lesson. Short again. And similar sort of treatment. And another boundary. 3 times now Bob Woolmer's dropped it short to Richards, and 3 times he's put him away through the identical position. But short, pulled away again. And Richards has never yet missed out on this short ball.
Shot, and pretty well fielded by Hendrick. He got the hand to it and took quite a bit of the pace off it. It's still going to go for 4. But he did well to get down to it and get a touch on it. It was a fine stroke from Richards. Toss and 4 runs. Underwood not able to get to it, so 8 from this over from 2 spanking drives from Vivian Richards. A good shot. Beautiful stroke, that. Classic straight drive.
Hammered away unmercifully through the offside. Really hit with tremendous power. No need to run for that one. Over pitch ball. Big wide gap there between the bowler and mid-on. Oh, what another good shot. Really was a fine shot, that, half volley admittedly, but beautifully placed, perfectly put away by Viv Richards. Moving close to yet another 100. And that's short again, and it's getting the same sort of treatment. And quite incredible. It really is. 6 times he's dropped it halfway down, and 6 times he's been put away for 4. What a way to go to the 100. A really superb shot. Half volley, pitch round about leg stump. Fairly clattered again through that onside. So a magnificent 100 by Viv Richards. Bringing some more glory to the Antiguans, who are here in full support of him today. Century coming in 212 minutes, 17 boundaries in it, and quite an array of glorious shots. It's already his 600 in Test match cricket, and his 5th since January the 1st this year.
It's in the air, but it's quite safe, and it'll beat Underwood into the boundary. He really hit that one on the up. There's no waiting there for the half volley. A great shot. What a magnificent stroke. is the stroke of the day. Wasn't a bad ball. And there's another 4, and it's a great shot. Could have gone over the top. Just made it over the rope. Dickie Bird needed confirmation from the crowd there. Didn't quite get it in the meat of the bat, but it'll just beat Brian close into the boundary. Tony Greig now bowling to Richards. Oh, great shot. Beautiful stroke.
Chris Old to Viv Richards. No need to run for that either. Big gap through mid-on. Over pitch ball, and Richards all the way through this innings has scarcely missed a half volley.
When he attacks, marvellous certainty in his stroke play. So 250 comes up now for Kallicharran and Richards, their partnership.
Well, it's short, that's it. Friendly offering on 196 there, my word, by John Snow. Pitched it halfway down. And a tremendous performance this by Vivian Richards. 200 in a test match on this ground, following in the footsteps of the great Frank Worrell and Basil Butcher before him. 28 fours, so many of them with that pull shot or that hook shot, which took him to 200. 2 sixes as well, and of course his first 200 in a test match. And that's another friendly offering, halfway down. He hit that even more powerfully in that big gap between mid-wicket and mid-on. And that's a half volley. And just look at the power and timing of this really master batsman. 2 great hook shots, a half volley driven through the gap between mid-off and the bowler. And the challenge answered, and a terrific shot. 6 glorious runs right over wide mid-off. And he's found it through the onside this time. Really another great shot, clipped away through mid-wicket. Runs absolutely flowing from his bat now. He's down the pitch again, he's had to catch. No, it's over the top. Just clearing Mike Hendrick, not by very much, about a yard over the top, into the pavilion. That's in there, it could be a catch this time. Greig's there and he's made no mistake, tosses it high. And Richards is out. Greig mobbed there by the fielders, the first wicket to have fallen today at the end of a sparkling, a superb exhibition by this brilliant West Indian cricketer, Vivian Richards. And adding his name to the long list of great West Indian cricketers we've seen in this country since the war. Weeks, Worrell, Walcott, Sobers, Lloyd, and now Richards. And one can only think we're going to see a lot more of him in the future.
232 in that first test match at Trent Bridge, and now on to Old Trafford.
Swing there, beautifully timed. Took everything into account there. Ball certainly swung away in the air, but Richards playing a superb extra cover drive.
And it to chase that. Well, it's very rarely that Derek Underwood is flurried. Four more. Lovely, delicate stroke. It went in the air, but it was well out of the reach of Brian Close. It slipped. That's safe and a good shot. And his 50, it went in the air past Woolmer at square leg.
And Richards on 54 at the far end. And it's driven fiercely through mid-on. It's a chase along the boundary there. Sprawling dive, and Woolmer unable to cut it off. Straight driven forward to Richards. Knocked it away fine. Underwood chasing around, just about able to cut it off. But no, a dive, got one hunt to it. Just popped over the line, and it's 4 more to Viv Richards. So he moves on to 68.
It's a fine stroke. Pick a ball from Underwood, and Richards picked it nicely. Yeah, he's a little bit astray there. Got 2 mats down the leg side that time. There's an offside field and no men on the boundary on the leg side. So that's not the place to pitch it. 291 for 2. Vivian Richards is on 94. And a beautiful 4. Takes him up to 98. Lovely stroke that. It was a quicker ball from Underwood. And he clipped it away, placing it beautifully past the man at backward point. He's going to look for 2. Underwood's the fieldsman. He's hammered at the other end, and he'll have to go. And that is very close. And he's made it a tremendous piece of running. He was hampered quite inadvertently by Pocock at the other end. Richards looking down to fine leg, but he made it for his century. 298 for 2, West Indies.
Pocock now to Richards. And that's through for another 4. Immensely powerful blow again by Vivian Richards, dancing down the wicket, clipping it through that big gap mid-wicket. Underwood again from the Stretford end. Another delicate late cut by Richards. Another boundary to Vivian Richards. That's his 15th of the innings so far as his score moves on to 114. So Pocock to Richards. And that's hammered again, straight past the bowler, using his feet. Delightful footwork there by Richards. Moving on now to 118, his 16th boundary. Hendrick to Richards. And that's going through for 4 more. Over pitch ball, clipped through mid-wicket, so this rampage goes on.
360 for 3. 97 overs gone with the sole ball. That's a fine shot. Beautiful stroke of his hip through mid-wicket for 4. Glorious shot by Vivian Richards to take him on to 132. That's closer, my word. Good ball, that. Quicker one from Pocock, the top spinner. And Vivian Richards is out for 135. LBW Pocock. Just a century in the Old Trafford game, but better to come in the 5th Test match at the Oval. Here's the action.
Oh, confidently away. Moved inside, clipped it away square, the first boundary. new ball bowlers are going to change ends. Oh, it's a glorious shot, glorious stroke. And this man is so quickly into position. His feet moving like lightning, forcing his way square on the offside.
Well, that's a lovely stroke. Superb footwork there to take him to the pitch of the ball. Just racing into the boundary away the far side of the ground. Oh, that was a good shot. There's a no ball, and Richards had plenty of time to change his mind there. He was going after it off the front foot. He was beaten in the flight, but it didn't matter because umpire Ali had already made the call. 4 runs, no third man. It went through the gully area in the air.
And that's through this time, all right. So Richards goes to his 50 before Fredericks. Comes back for the third and moves on to 51. Of course, from the England fielders, and Richards again in really cracking form here at the Oval. His 50 coming in just 87 minutes, 5 boundaries included. And you can't allow anything round about leg stump at this man, Richards. Nonchalantly flicked that away through mid-wicket for 4 more. This partnership past the 3-figure mark now.
Oh, what a marvellous shot. That really was a superb stroke. Well, I'll be very interested to see what the umpires do about that. And it's signal 4. Very nice sight. The ground itself a little on the brown side, which one can't complain about. The lack of rain, but the outfield is very fast and is in good condition considering all the circumstances. It's safe, right over the top of the bowler's head, and 4 runs into the pavilion rails.
We'll be facing Geoffrey Miller. Swept away behind square. Certainly be his 100 this. Richards knows it. Takes the first one comfortably. Jogs away for the second to complete another brilliant performance. His 100 coming here in just on 3 hours, including 10 fours. And really is a man in form. It's his 8th Test 100. And his 3rd against England. And bear in mind, he only made his first Test match debut in less than 2 years ago. Oh, that's a good shot before. Again, the over-pitch wideish half volley. Just a little bit too far outside off stump.
That's a fine shot, beautifully placed. Just racing away over the parched outfield there. Shot. What a good shot.
Beautifully placed, gave himself room. It wasn't all that short. But this man Richards is so quick on his feet. He seizes and sizes up the opportunity so quickly. A magnificent shot again. Ran away from it, played it late, crushed it square. So up goes the bat. 150 to Viv Richards in the 77th over now, and in some previous Test match days, that's as many as we got all day. Still an hour and 20 minutes to go here. A bad ball short, and taken full advantage of again by Richards. Hammered away through mid-wicket for 4 more. So 300 total reached with only 2 men out, and Richards' share of that is 157.
David Steele. Safe and 4 runs. Good clean hit too.
And that's 4 more, no bother at all. Richards disdaining to leave the crease. Stood there and hammered it away, leant on his bat and admiringly watched it go through for 4 more. And that's it. Flipped away nonchalantly and elegantly. And unfortunately, we're going to get an invasion, which will spoil this really brilliant 200. So Richards going on to a second double century in this Test match series. And he's the last person who wants this sort of treatment or this sort of behaviour on the ground.
A lovely shot. Does she plays that well? Several times yesterday, he was beautifully positioned to get that ball away through mid-wicket, and that was a superb example of it. Safe and a fine stroke. Might have been beaten a little in the flight there by Underwood, and he went through with the stroke beautifully. Oh, what a good shot. My word. Would have been a great catch. That's the sort of catch you don't really want to see coming back at you. Good shot.
And in position there for the half volley. Half volley outside the leg stump presents no problems to Richards in this sort of form. And the shot repeated. Another half volley round about leg stump. Flicked away there. And you'd really think the England bowlers must know the great strength of this man. Anything round about leg stump, so severe on. That's a half volley, stroked gloriously through the covers for 4. It's the one he was waiting for that takes him on to 250, establishes a 100 partnership between these two. In fact, the 3rd successive century stand in this innings to date. And another beautiful shot. Just simply waiting for the over-pitch ball and repeating the dose again in that over. And another half volley, and that stroke just for a change through mid-wicket. And he's bowled him, and Richards goes on 291 The end of a memorable innings. A useful delivery indeed from Tony Greig. A little bit of spin from outside the off stump. A little casual shot from Vivian Richards. On the end of a day that people at the Oval will remember for a very long time.
Viv, those innings will always remain in my mind. Absolutely marvellous stuff. And you didn't actually play at Lord's.
Yeah, I think when I came down from Nottingham, we went and we played one of the county matches, and then after I started feeling a little bit weak and took me to the doctors, and they found out that I had glandular fever. So which means I was going to miss, maybe playing at Lord's, because it's always a place that I think I wanted to play in a particular way, because hearing it for a number of years, about the place for a number of years, the tradition and things like that. And on my first trip to England, having to miss it, it was a pretty sort of a disappointing time for me.
Still turned out to be a marvellous year for you, because you made 829 runs in the series. Only 4 times have players made more than that in a Test match series, and that record still stands, 1976, 1,710 runs in a calendar year, a good 150 more than anyone else, and I'd suggest that was a fairly successful jaunt for you.
Yeah, it was maybe, or up to this moment still, is the best sort of 2 years which I had in Test cricket. And to have left Australia, to have gone on to the Caribbean and to have got some runs against India, then coming to England, I think that was the sort of confidence that I think any young man needed. And it turned out, that I was never individual to actually worry about what I did or what's this record or what's that record. But I was quite amazed to hear that maybe an old friend of mine, Bobby Simpson, who held that record before I did what I did.
Well, you did it in style as well. And to keep up the festival atmosphere, there were 2 innings later on in that summer. One at Scarborough, 119 not out. One in a one-dayer at Lord's, 97.
Yeah, it's when things are really working for you, you're on a sort of a high. You are rolling. Every sportsman, I think, or woman, do maybe pray for the time, when they would feel at their best. And it was the sort of time where I was getting some runs in the Test matches. So why not maybe play a little bit more shots, when it came around to the one-day matches. And it worked. And obviously you do need a little bit a little element of luck. And having that, everything just fitted into place. And I will always remember that year.
And quickly into his stride, just casually walked outside the off stump. Equally casually flicked it through extra cover for 4. Oh, it's another beautiful shot. Really, what a cracker that. His feet moved into position like a flash. And that's through again, half volley this time. And mercifully punished once again by Richards.
That's a great shot. It took him a long time to get under it through that area, but when he did it with a superb stroke. 50 in 77 minutes with 8 fours for Viv Richards. Already has played some glorious shots.
That's a good shot. Really the only positive reply to a field set like this. Well, a curious feel that Underwood's got here for Richards. Got the whole of the England side almost in a circle with the exception of a deep square leg. That's a good shot, kept on the ground this time for 4.
Now, that is almost a contemptuous stroke. Not often the ground Barlow misfields, and it gives Richards his century. 102 to Viv Richards. Again, a superb innings. What a season he's having, and what a year. Oh, good shot. That's a beautiful six. It's out of my sight now, but a super shot. Festival 119 not out for Vivian Richards at Scarborough, and now back to Lord's.
No apparent effort whatsoever again by Richards, just into position like a flash. And he's found the gap again, second time in succession. And Gooch just giving that up as it runs through for 4 more.
Change of bowling now. One of the fatal things to do to these West Indian batsmen is to bowl short. It's not much good bowling half volleys either, but to bowl short is absolutely fatal. They're onto the back foot. Very quick to thump the ball away on the onside. It's a marvellous shot. Now, that one wasn't all that short. There's a marvellous stroke, bouncing just inside the boards at deep extra cover. Richards advancing to Underwood.
127 for 4, Richards on 42, and Woolmer the bowler. And again, although there's about 7 men back on the boundary, there's nothing at all they could do. That's 50 to Richards. And Michael doubly sure with another boundary, so that boundary off Woolmer, he goes through to 53 out of 141.
That's... I wouldn't reckon there was anywhere around the ground where he could get the ball between the fieldsmen. And here's Tony Greig on to bowl to Richards. And that's 4. Well, there aren't very many places on the leg side where you can get 4 runs. That's one of them. That's a great shot. Well, that's where there was no man. Very, very fine. 4 on the fence on the leg side. Long off. Extra cover. It's out. Bob Woolmer's caught him. The innings is over. Viv Richards is out for 97. It was a lovely shot. I should think you remember your next tour to Australia, because that's 1979-80, following on the various problems in 75-6. And you had a terrific tour, the team did. And in 3 test matches and 4 innings, you hit a century and 3 half-centuries, again batting at number 3 with all that responsibility.
Yeah, it's... We needed, I think, at that time to prove something, because I think maybe our cricket pride was humiliated in some way. The way in which I think the Australians played, they played some tough cricket, and being a young man on my first tour of Aussie, it was a sort of a stepping stone that one needed to progress. And I think we had some sort of an insight when we went back, what things were going to be like. You know, I thought we were prepared, because we brought along a few fast bowlers as well, and I think we had some guys, you know, who could have matched, you know, the likes of Dennis Lilly and the Thompsons, and everything as well fitted into place. I thought Clive Lloyd led the team magnificently well, and we had some guys, you know, who found this sort of a new confidence playing the Australians. It wasn't, you know, that if and but sort of a situation anymore, but full confidence.
And we'll just have a look now at the first test match. The Gabba is the venue.
And that's a fine shot. That's a beautiful shot by Richards. He wasn't all that short, and then he made room for himself and cut down to backward point. Good on drive. Acosta in pursuit. And he won't get there, 4 runs. Beautiful shot by Richards. Another boundary. This time through mid-off, whereas the last one was through mid-on. No ball, so that's the 29th no ball called in the match. Lily off a short run now. And that's going to be 4 more. Worked through mid-wicket by Richards. And that's his 50. Superb innings by Richards.
Burke Lewis has pulled that square, just a fraction short. 4 runs.
Well, that's an example of Vivian Richards' ability to force that ball away to the boundary. It didn't really beat Laird down a deep square leg by far, but he middled it so beautifully that there was never any chance of Laird cutting it off.
80 not out overnight, and then a power failure. It wasn't only the bowlers who failed for Australia then. We joined play when he's made 115.
And there's the hook through mid-wicket for 4. Really hit that ball very hard indeed and hit it down. Oh, glorious. Magnificent shot from Richards. He was in position like a flash and really clobbered it through mid-wicket for 4.
Oh, what a marvellous catch. What a superb catch. He almost had no right to get back in time for that because he was going down the offside. Richards has caught nice bowl Lily for 140. A wonderful knock at the Gabba, followed by one of equal brilliance at the MCG, where he made 96.
That's his 50. Beautiful straight drive. 4 runs. Viv Richards moves on to 53. Warm applause from this very hot MCG crowd.
Whilst Richards and Kalachar won't have seen too much leg spin in opposition test sides, nor will Rodney Marsh at that standard of cricket, although he does have leg spinners in the WA side. A great shot.
Got that away nicely. That's off his pad, square of the wicket. And that's 4 runs. Not good enough. The outfielders using their feet. That was Jeff Dimmick.
Richards has got 96, just a boundary away from his century now. And Dimmock around the wicket to him. And he's gone, he's out for 96. Richards caught an extra cover by Tui off the bowling of Dimmock for 96.
Now, same ground, same superb batsman, but a change of format to limited overs and a real calypso innings of 153 not out. That was an absolutely marvellous limited overs innings. In fact, at the time, I thought it was the best I'd ever seen. It was later to be superseded by another one, which we'll show later on in this programme. Well, in 1980, you made your debut as captain of the West Indies side at Headingley at the end of the series, Viv. But prior to that, on this balcony, you didn't spend a great amount of time because you were out there hitting 145 off England.
I think that was a chance, you know, every cricketer, you know, who maybe is going to play at the Mecca of cricket, that's the chance everyone wanted. And it was amazing that I felt good. And it was a good day, I think, maybe for batting, because it was a wonderful sort of a wicket. And I think we were in some trouble at some stage, you know, where we had lost a couple of early wickets. And the stage was set in a sense where it was a sort of a packed house. And what's better for any guy who's making his debut to go out at Lord's and to have scored 100, it's the sort of icing on the cake. And there's so many things, you know, that I will have to remember in this game.
Tell me, before you went out to bat and when you were sitting in this dressing room, were you pacing up and down? What were you doing?
No, I was never individual to watch cricket that much. Actually, I'm one of the worst cricket watchers you can find. I always try maybe and find a particular spot, you know, that was pretty relaxing, where I could stretch my feet out and also have a little lie. And that's what I do. And maybe if you're playing in maybe the opposition's backyard, whenever a wicket falls, certainly you would know that's your wake-up call.
What a lovely way to bring up your 3,000 runs in Test matches. First ball, the swinging half volley, crunched away past the right hand of extra cover. Superb timing from Richards there. Slower one. Actually, not bad thinking, the change of pace there, but it was just that little bit too full. And although Desmond Haynes hasn't scored since lunch, 22 minutes, Vivian Richards has more than made up for that. He's gone on now to 26. Great stroke. It was short. Nowhere near where both of them would have preferred it to land.
And Vivian Richards is showing that there's no margin for error on this very, very good batting pitch. Anything a little bit out of line or out of length, it's going for 4.
Well, no one could get that. Not even Joel Garner could have reached that one. And it was a superbly timed shot.
Nobody back there. That's 4 runs all the way. And that's expertly placed as well, wide of mid-on. And that'll race away for 4 more. When he gets a boundary, seems to go in for a clutch of them. Yet again, he faces up to Willis. Throws himself into it, finds the gap again between cover and mid-off. And very quickly over the ropes. Underwood to resume from the nursery end. And Richards to resume as well. 4 more. And his placement in this innings has been quite uncanny. And just look at that. Hardly any room at all between extra cover and mid-off, but this man has found it. He's crashed another boundary. And the mayhem here continues. And again, it's quite uncanny. One can't help repeating the fact, but not a great gap this time, square on the offside, but bang through the middle it goes. And that's another. Beautifully placed again through mid-wicket. So I've seen it through extra cover, we've seen it straight, square on the offside, and now through mid-wicket. Every shot in the book flying from the bat of this really superb craftsman.
Oh, word, that was a great shot. third. And I don't think Jeff Boycott's going to be too pleased about that, because there's every reason to suppose he might have been able to cut that off. No chance for anyone to move there. Fabulous shot. Beautiful. Beautiful to watch. Four more to Viv Richards, beating extra cover and mid-off as well.
Typical flick off the legs brings Viv Richards 2 runs and completes a quite superb century. And as long as you watch cricket, you won't see many better hundreds than that at Lord's. And the entire crowd here rising to their feet in appreciation of a masterly performance. Just 2 hours and 6 minutes for that 100. He's only received 106 balls and he's hit 19 fours. That's swept away by Richards. Just waiting to see if it's cleared the ropes. It just has. It wasn't too far, in fact, away from Mike Gattin. So our first 6. And that's 4 more. There's nobody out there at deep mid-wicket. And Richards in this form, of course, can work it away from middle stump through those wide open spaces.
That's as good as anything he's played today. And my word, there have been some great shots. Oh, it must be gone. Willie has got Richards, just trying to push it around the corner. 145 at the home of cricket. A great thrill, I'm sure, for Vivian Richards, and certainly for the people who were privileged to watch it. Little change of pace now, Viv. We'll take you to Trinidad, 1980-81. A different aspect of your cricket, your first Test match victim. And the man concerned has always told me that he threw his wicket away. Can that be true?
That sounds like a great friend of mine, Ian, because knowing that we were friends, for a number of years, with our Somerset careers and things like that, we always used to talk about maybe what we would do when we do happen to play against each other. And I think he always said to me, that if you happen to get me out, Viv, I'll buy you drinks for the rest of your life. So I think I'm still receiving drinks.
Well, he's never been one to decline to buy a drink over the years, but was it worth it?
Yes, I think because I think Ian was under enormous pressure in that series, because of certain things, that were written in the papers, and I don't think he was himself, on that particular trip, because he had us to have dealt with a lot of things off the field, and certainly playing against us at that time, he was under a lot of pressure as well too. So I think maybe it was just not due to his lack of ability or anything that he got out to me, but because of the pressures, I think, and I think I was quite pleased to have capitalized getting him out.
Now, Viv, you mentioned Somerset. When you were with them, you did wonderfully well, not only in the county championship, but also in limited overs games. There was the Gillette Cup semi-final against Essex, the Gillette Cup final against North Hants, and in 1981, the Benson Hedges Cup final against Surrey. A century in each of those games for you. Thrilling?
First, I think I begin with when we played that semi-final against Essex. It was a sort of something, within ourselves that we felt it was the sort of year in order for us to have achieved winning something. And I think that game was played at Taunton, right in our backyard, and it was a wonderful crowd. And I knew also that the guy who used to prepare the wickets at Somerset in those times used to prepare some wonderful wickets. And I think the stage was also set for maybe not just myself, you know, but for any guy who appreciates batting, for you to go and distribute whatever on that particular track. And knowing that if we did win, we were going to be in a final. And it's something that we always wanted to achieve, especially people like the Joels and Ian, Brian, Dasher Denin. We always wanted to come to Lord's and maybe to see how our supporters would behave on some scrumpy.
And that's sweetly flicked away. 4 runs to Richards, beautifully timed. Keith Bond bowling to Vivian Richards. And Richards, enough of this messing about, he says, down the pitch, 4 to mid-wicket. And that's really clubbed away to mid-wicket. 48 to Richards, 2 fours in the over. Solid contact that time. Gooch to Richards. And that's 50. Down to mid-on. Pump the fierce one. 1 run to Richards. And that's 50 in the 22nd over.
That's over the top of the bowler's head by Richards. No need for anybody to run. It's another boundary to the West Indian. And he goes on now to 54 out of this total of 95 for 2. Ponding into Richards. And it's over the top of mid-on. Just a doubt for a minute whether that was going to hole out again to Ray East at mid-on. Already take 1 catch, but that cleared him by a few feet. It's 2 successive boundaries now to Viv Richards. Ponding into Richards. And that's only just clearing cover point. Just over the top of Denice. It's streaking away to the boundary. It brings up the 100. It's 3 successive boundaries to Viv Richards. And he's really setting this crowd alight. That was an interesting shot. My word, what a shot. Well, Reyes can hardly believe it. He backed away almost before Reyes bowled. He picked his spot, which was over extra cover, and very coolly and calmly planted it in the crowd. Richards then a single away from what would be a brilliant 2.5-hour century here. Philip bowls and turned easily, casually away on the leg side. Hat off, Brad out, the crowd on their feet. A tremendous innings this. 1-6, 1-5, 12 fours. It's taken him only 2.5 hours. And the crowd here delirious with excitement. 100 coming out of 161 for 2 in absolutely brilliant fashion. Well, it's an incredible shot. Seems the time is approaching here for Viv really to cut loose. What a brilliant catch. And a simply magnificent catch there by Mike Denice, and Richards goes.
Well, I think we had some disappointments that particular year when we won that semi-finals against Essex, because we came to Lord's and we played against Sussex, and I think we were beaten in that final, and also got beaten in the Sunday League on the Sunday. So with that, it was a disappointing year, and to know that the following year I was back at Lord's, it was a sort of a thing the club needed at the time, because they haven't had success for quite a long time, and there were some marvelous people who were supporting us. And what could be better than coming to Lord's again and scoring 117 against Northants in that final.
Super shot. It was really only a defensive push. For there, it's never much of a ball at any time. The full toss round about leg stump to Viv Richards. Absolutely fatal. Well, I think we can say he's all right.
That went a good deal finer than he anticipated, but it brings him 4 runs. Nick there onto the pad. He's gone for the big one this time and connected. First time he's danced down the pitch and packed it straight for 4.
Richards and both of them are really tearing this attack to pieces now. Lovely shots, there's nothing risky about it. It's a nice greeting when you come back for another spell after lunch. Jim Griffiths very harshly treated there by Viv Richards.
And there's the single, no problem at all for him, anything on his legs. He deals with so efficiently. Crowd rise to Viv Richards, this great West Indian player, who goes through to exactly 100 out of a Somerset total of 228 for second. But what a great let-off he had there on 99. He got further outside. That was a magnificent shot again. So cheeky. He walked across almost before Southraz's bowl. And absolutely nothing that the bowler could do. Griffith to Richards. And that's it. Tried it once too often, ran outside the off stump. Ball a little bit further pitched up this time, and it's the end of Viv Richards for a magnificent performance once again here at Lord's.
Having won the Gillett Cup match, and then to have gone on to win the John Player League as well on the same Sunday. Remarkable, I think, for club and players.
And just 2 years later, you picked up 132 in the final against Surrey, and that too must have been quite a thrill.
Why I think so? Because we had the use, maybe bowling first on the track, you know, that gave some assistance to our bowler, and Joel bowled magnificently well again, as he has done in the finals, you know, that we appeared here at Lord's. And with that, we got him out for 196, I think. And it was a sort of a total that we thought we could have got. We could have got easy. Maybe if we saw of a Sylvester Clarke, because I think he had a name for himself here in county cricket, and for the stages that he has played in, he seemed to put fear into batsmen, and with that, we lost 2 wickets, I think, to Sylvester Clarke's bowling pretty early. We were, I think, not for 2 wickets in that region, and here again, wonderful stage again. This is why I think I love this place so much, because it's been so kind to me in a sense that it was an occasion again to have come up triumphant, and to know that you have played a part, you know, in that sort of a triumph. It was wonderful.
It's come to space. Well, that's a full-hearted effort, but 4 runs to Vivian Richards. Not yet beat 100 in Benson Hedges cricket, and chose my old county Glamorgan to top the score with 85. That went. He likes those.
Whack. No one moved. Only the spectators.
Pat Pocock's bowling to Viv Richards. And Viv Richards is smashing Pat Pocock away down the ground. With a great shot to bring up his 50. No need for anyone to bother looking for that one. He's hit it straight into the crowd. Tremendous performance. But there aren't too many men around who could do that. It was shortish, but there are two men guarding that leg side boundary behind square leg. And that one's gone much finer. There is despair if ever you've seen it.
54 runs more required for a Somerset victory. 1 for Richards' 100. And there it is. All class and style, and however many hundreds you get, each one brings its own personal satisfaction, and Viv Richards has worked hard for this one. Tremendous bang, that. My word, 4 runs over extra cover. And who drop it short of Vivian Richards? You'd think Dave Thomas had learned a lesson for the day. 193 for 3, 195 required, 2 to win. Thomas to Richards. He didn't mean to get them in singles. No one saw where the ball went. Everyone knows who's won.
Just one other thing on the domestic scene. In 1985, you made 322, an enormous score. That was against Warwickshire on that Taunton ground, and I suspect the groundsman, mate of yours, might have produced a good track again. And I am told that at lunchtime you walked in, put your bat down, and said, I think there's a few more out there.
It's that sort of feeling. I think we played a game up north against Yorkshire. I cannot remember the place exactly. But traveling down that night, I didn't feel upset at all. I knew how I was going to feel maybe the following day because of the journey, having to drive, you know, for such lengthy times. But got up the morning, went to the ground and looked at the pitch, looked a good track. Actually, the sun shone. Went in, we lost a couple of wickets again early. And early on, I played and missed a little bit. And after that, everything just fitted into place. And I can remember walking in at lunchtime that there was this feeling that I felt in total control, and I couldn't wait for lunch to finish. I wanted maybe, rather than the normal 40 minutes for lunch, for them to cut it into half or even maybe 5 minutes so that one could resume, because I was feeling so good.
When you left Somerset and went to Rishton, I think you're the first cricketer I've ever seen arrive at a ground in a helicopter.
With hailstones as well. Well, it was a sort of a spectacular sort of a landing, in a sense that I was going to join this new club, and there was lots of interest which was shown, in a sense, with me being in the north of England. And there was a wonderful crowd, but to my amazement, you know, because I can never ever experience that before in my life, where as I stepped out of the plane, down came these hailstones, and while batting as well too, we had hailstones. But as you know, anything goes in the league. We continued.
Well, they tend to do that there. And Rishton's not all that far away from Manchester, which brings me along to a limited overs game. I mentioned the one in Melbourne and we saw it a little earlier where you made 153, which I thought then was the greatest innings I've ever seen, but that was overtaken by the 189 not out you made against England at Old Trafford. That was absolutely sensational because West Indies, there's no doubt about it, they were gone and forgotten when you and Eldine Baptiste, first of all, and then Michael Holding not only put on runs and saved the innings, but actually won the match.
That game will always stick out because of the events, that obviously took place where England were on top, for a long time. And we were somewhat struggling to get runs to tee off in a particular way where we got the flow of runs by not losing wickets. And every time maybe we looked like something was going to happen, we kept losing wickets. But I think maybe Gus, can maybe come and give evidence to this, that I did say to him at lunchtime, because the wicket, I never thought there was any devil in the wicket. It was a flat sort of a wicket, but these things do happen, when you're performing, you can, on the best of wickets, you can muck things up. And certainly we were in disarray with the score on that wicket, knowing when we're going to bowl in it, what's going to happen. And I can remember saying to Gus that, don't worry. I don't know where the confidence came from all of a sudden, but not to worry. We are gonna be doing well, and we're gonna have a decent score, because I'm gonna see it through. If someone, and I pleaded at the time for someone to give me support, and certainly Michael, before we had Eldine Baptiste, and then Michael came and lent me all the support which we needed. Everything took off.
It certainly did, and we can have a look at that now.
That's a typical Richards effort. No need to run this time. Little flick of the right hand, and it races through mid-wicket for 4. Oh, that's 4 more. It was in the air, but the placement was right. Clean short X from mid-off. Never any danger of a catch.
And there's that favoured shot, and it split the 2 men behind square. Fatal to bowler Richards on the leg side. The strange thing about it is that almost invariably he gets it in the middle of the bat.
And Gutting giving chase. He'll cut it off all right. There'll be 2 more to Richards. 2 more, which takes him through to his half-century. 51 on the board in the 22nd over, with the West Indies on 83 for 4. Just nudges that away fine. That's going to beat Bob Willis. No hope of cutting it off. He's dealt in boundaries here this morning as Viv Richards. His placement, as ever, has been absolutely top class. No problem, a single anywhere he wants it, and that he decided was once again on the leg side. He's made it into 4, which takes him on to 103. And what a great innings this has been. 103 out of 173. With wickets tumbling all around him. He's only received 112 balls, 12 fours in it, and the 7th time he's made 100 in limited over cricket. Foster to Richards. Give himself room. Beautiful shot. Really was. Classic off drive there. To a ball pitched, I suppose, round about leg stump. That's hoisted away. Beautiful shot again. Quite amazing the strength of this man on the leg side. Just seemed to flick that over the mid-wicket boundary for 6. Shot again, absolutely magnificent. Straight 6 this time, and again to a ball pitching outside the leg stump. couple of steps away and just put it exactly where he wanted it. Straight for 6. A short one, attempted bouncer, and that's put away in great style again for 4 more. And one feels a shade sorry for the bowlers, I must say. It's almost impossible to bowl to this man when he's in this frame of mind. That's the great joy of Viv Richards, who's immediately put him into the crowd for 6. And again, with apparently no effort whatsoever. Overpitched. Pick of the bat, little flick of the wrists, and away she goes. Oh, that's a real cracker of a shot. Soared away into the far distance there, right smack into the middle of the crowd. So 150 goes on the board for Viv Richards, holding down the wicket to shake him by the hand. Tremendous performance, 4 sixes, 15 fours, and he scored up more than a run a ball. He's only had 147 balls. And that means that's gone a magnificent 6, right over the top. That's going to be the 2, all right. Is it going to be 4? Yes, just beaten Fowler, racing round there. So there we are, 100s down for the last wicket. 166 when they came together. It's moved on now to 268 with a ball left. And as you might expect, it ended with a 4. Richards' bat held high. One of the great innings of one-day cricket. 189 not out, and he alone is responsible for putting West Indies in such a very strong position.
Absolutely marvellous. 189 not out, the highest ever one-day score, and I still say it's the greatest thing I've ever seen in limited overs cricket. Victory there for the West Indies. England won the second match, and then after the third, which was played at Lord's, Viv, they were saying it's Vivian Richards 2, England 1, because you made a brilliant 84 not out here again at the home of cricket.
Well, maybe because I personally had a good Texaco one-day series, but not forgetting, you know, that England, they drew level at Nottingham, and when they drew level, they bowled well. It was all down to maybe how we played, like maybe the grand final coming here at Lord's, but. One's got to give credit as well too. We took some good catches, I think. We also bowled well to have allowed maybe for me to go and to have done what I did. But all in all, it was a magnificent sort of team effort because everyone, I think, contributed. I made the runs and the bowlers did the job, you know, and I think this is the way the game should be anyway.
Well, a typical Richards shot there. Flipped it away from the roundabout middle stump. And he fairly peppers that leg side boundary when he gets cracking. And we'll have some more. This time he decided to lift it over the top and gets 4 more. It's gone again. Just waiting. And it's 6. Yes, just about cleared those boundary ropes.
Chalk up 4 more. You're going to flash hard. 50 for Vivian Richards. Changed the whole state of the game.
28 more wanted, 10 overs left. Shouldn't be much of a problem for these two. There's more runs there for Richards. And just beating Miller over the ropes. Bob Willis with 1 over left to bowl. That's whipped away, another flick of the wrist, and away it disappears into the crowd. It's 6 more. Unforgettable shots coming here from Viv Richards. Short, hooked high into the air. 6 more. And the series developing into really Richards 2, England 1. And there's every chance, the hook shot in there again. The crowd on the field, but it's only 4. Go back, man. So the score's level. Might be a crafty move by Richards. If he hits the last ball for 6, it certainly improves his average. On the mark. It's gone. Richards has got the stump. Most of the spectators have collared the discs as souvenirs. And away he goes. He's getting out of the danger as quick as possible.
Now, you'd been in Test match cricket at that stage for 10 years, and after those one-day matches, there was the Test series against England, 117 in your first Test at Edgbaston, 64th Test match in those 10 years, and here you've brought up your 5,000 runs. And I know you've never been concerned with landmarks and run getting, and the entertainment has always been there, but it must be nice to reach milestones of that kind.
You do. When you start hearing the comments about, you know, when there's a pause in a particular match and you do hear the announcer makes this announcement, it says something that if you want to achieve certain things, if you know you want to get to the highest level of your sport, this is what it's about. And certain milestones that do crop up would be quite welcoming to any individual, you know, who was participating in sport.
No ball called. Richards off the mark with 4. Very, very close, but it's 4 runs. "5,000 runs for Vivian Richards in Test cricket. Nice landmark for him. One of the greatest cricketers the world has ever seen.
And in typical style, carve that away from round about middle stump, over mid-wicket for 4. Well, I thought Railingworth that Derek Pringle might have known that by now.
Well, I think he'll soon find out that that's not the place you can bowl at Viv Richards, and if he bowls a few more there, he'll suffer the same fate, I'm afraid.
And that's straight past the bowler. It's a chase again for Foster. And no apparent effort in that shot, but it's racing away for 4 more. Little more than a forward push. That's over the top of mid-off. Beautiful shot this time. Perfectly safe. No problem at all.
112 for 2, 44 to Richards, 25 to Gomes. That's That's the sort of delivery that doesn't deserve a wicket, but you take it all the same. 50 to Viv Richards. A good crowd here today at Edgbaston, and so there should be too if you have the chance to see the modern-day master in action. 50 from 77 balls faced and 8 fours. That field setting will need a little adjustment because that was almost catchable by Gower, and yet it still went for 4. It beat Pringle, the man 3 parts of the way to the boundary. No one has seen that. Not necessarily because it went so fast, but they lost it in the crowd. The man at deep square didn't pick it up, nor did the man at long on. It's a beautiful stroke. Played 2 shots earlier today, defensive strokes, so went for 4 right off the middle of the bat. That is a magnificent hit without any apparent real effort. I won't say you never see that, but very rarely see Derek Randall miss anything. And it was certainly gettable. 202 the total now for 2 wickets. This pair have been together since the start of play and into yesterday as well. No one will say that. There it is. 100 for Vivian Richards and a beautiful stroke with which to bring it up. It's a good innings. He's not been well. He's indisposed yesterday. Came out this morning and has played really well.
Just managed to swivel that round very fine indeed. That's gone for 4-2. And he's gone this time. Lovely catch there by Randall, and Richards falls. End of another really remarkable performance. 117 is made out of a total of 241 for 3.
117 to Viv Richards, and the match to West Indies by an innings and 180 runs. He followed that with 72 at Lord's. West Indies won again, and then they won the series 5-0. Then down to Australia, where memory tells me, Viv, you had something of a mixed time.
I can remember I had a slow start to the tour. I think I was getting some runs, like against the state teams, but wasn't able to put it together in the test matches. And even though that we were winning at that time, you always wanted to know that you played a part in whatever victory you may receive. But I think it wasn't until the 4th test match that I actually got going, where I got in the first innings, and it goes to show you the game, the great levels of the game, because I can remember scoring 208 in the first innings and getting out for a duck the second innings, so I was brought right back down to earth anyway. But it was nice to have got that particular total, because I was really struggling for runs, and when you finally find whatever form that you think you may get, and to be rewarded getting 208 at Melbourne, because it's a ground that I think ever since I started my career in Australia, for some reason or the other, it's a ground that I like batting on. There's lots of people who will tell you it's never a good wicket, but for some reason it was kind to me.
Well, now, The World Cup, 1975. We've only talked so far about your batting and the great things you've done with the bat. You're still a top-class fielder, but in your younger days, if I might use the...
Yeah, that's right. You can.
You were one of the most superb fielders the world's ever seen. 1975, you missed out with the bat, but you had 3 run-outs which turned the game and won that first World Cup for the West Indies.
That was against Australia. It was the first World Cup that I think ever to be played, and it was a packed house again, also here at Lord's. Clive, I think, wouldn't be forgotten.
Wonderful
because he scored a magnificent 100.
Wasn't that a good 100?
Wonderful 100, wonderful 100, and I think we had at that time, if I can call him that, because he was getting grey a little bit in that sense, the silver fox in Ron Kanai. He went out and he played a great supporting role to Clive. For some reason in that match, I think we made 275, somewhere around that. I'm not too sure, but when we scored that runs, Australia, they were doing reasonably well, because I think in the final tally, we only ended up winning, I think, by 18 runs. There was some good sort of cricket coming from the Australians, who at that time were maybe blasted for not really getting to grips with one-day cricket. But they gave us a good run for our money, and it was a privilege having to run out two of my idols in cricket, the Chappell brothers, in one match, and Alan Turner, because it did help to change things around with the way those guys were batting at the time. We needed that, and it was pretty pleasing to me.
So Viv, 3 run-outs in 1975, but in 1979 it was the bat again on the same ground in the World Cup final against England, 138.
The stage was set again for you to try and repeat some of the things, that you have done at this place, because I've always thought and appreciate in a particular way that this is a place, that if you needed to do it, there's no better place to do it than here at Lord's.
A lot of practice has gone into a piece of fielding like that. That's a super shot. Beautifully positioned, and no nerves about that one for Viv Richards. That's the best shot today. Right out of the textbooks, that one. It's arrogance at its best, that one. Unless the batsman happens to take things into his own hands and hit you over the top. One thing you can't afford to do with a field like that is bowl short, with a short boundary on that tavern stand side. And that's how short the boundary is. No chance there for the fieldsman at mid-wicket to get across in time. Phil Edmonds was the man trying to get around, and he's been kept a bit squarer now.
Well, a little bit of luck there on 49, but he gets 4 for it off a thick outside edge. Both of them are delighted, but it's been a fine knock, this by Viv Richards. Goes to 53 out of 109.
A super shot, that is.
Maybe I may have ended up with scoring the most runs in that final, but I thought the way Collis played, he helped me in that sense to get where I were at that time because of the innings he played. I can remember him getting 70 odd, and he just hit it to all parts of the ground.
Wonderful knock,
yeah, wonderful. And I just stayed there at the other end, admiring every bit of it, until he was out. Then I decided, well, I've seen what a guy can do. Why not take over?
That's a friendly full toss, and he's got it away. That's going to be his 100. Yes, beautifully placed, a full toss. A joyous Richards, a delighted West Indian contingent here. And Viv Richards going through to 101 out of this total now of 243 for 5. Hadn't been in the greatest form in this competition and was a little bit sketchy when he came in, but he's recovered his form, and this is the old Vivian Richards.
Very wise indeed. Who wants to be a hero at that stage of the innings? Last ball of the 60th over. Viv Richards on strike. And he's finished it off nicely with a 6. It's a tremendous shot. Not only a great innings from Vivian Richards when he made that 138, here is a super catch.
He's going for a big one. Is he going to be caught? And it's a magnificent catch. He's really taken a superlative catch on the fence. The whole West Indian team converging on him.
Exciting stuff, and another great win for West Indies, the 1979 World Cup final. But Viv, in 1983, India beat you in the final at Lord's. Prior to that, though, you had made 119 against them at the Oval, and then against the Australians, again at Lord's, 95 not out.
And again, 4 this time. Down to one of the long boundaries, but they'll do the signalling for the umpires because Vivian Richards middled that. Well, T means nothing when a half volley's around. He cracks that through extra cover, 4 runs.
The league into Richards. He's picked his spot nicely. It's 4 this time. That's a lovely shot. Wasn't a bad ball by any means. Not a half volley or anything like it. Good length ball. He just leant into it. And as they see in the Caribbean, he hit it on the up.
Superb shot.
440 runs scored already. And still another 100 to come. Chappell to bowl, Richards to face. And 50 on the board, yet another 50. With his master batsman from Antigua. It's all been too easy for him.
And there it is. There it goes. Well, I think open the shoulders is something of an understatement because that's gone for a magnificent 6 over long.
Just that little stutter and lengthens the stride. That's another magnificent shot. Really gave himself room and fairly hammered that for 6 over extra cover. Quite unique. And not too often in Jeff Thompson's career does he get hit for 6 over extra cover.
And in the semi-final at the Oval, 86 not out. So you played a big part there in getting West Indies through to the final.
Oh, crashing shot by Richards. Well, show him some width and a full length, and that's what you get.
Beautiful stroke. Been waiting for that one, dropped a little bit short. And Shahid Mahboob coming around the wicket hasn't had quite the same control as when he was over the wicket.
Tremendous clout by Richards. Classic shot. Oh, there'll be 1. 250 for Richards. Another superb half-century for Vivian Richards. And that puts West Indies well and truly on the way to victory in the semi-final. It's in the air. It's still in the air. Oh, dear, dear. I've heard of extemporization, but that really is the most inventive shot we've seen today. West Indies, 1 run to win. Zahir Abbas to Richards. There it is.
When you were able to take the World Cup back to the West Indies, what sort of reception did you get in Antigua, having pulled off those run-outs? And in the West Indies, they knew what had happened. There would have been euphoria there. What was Antigua like?
They took the red carpet out. We arrived at the airport because I think another Antiguan also played in that match, Andy Roberts, who's a great friend of mine. And with that, it was a feeling that you have accomplished something, because I've always wanted to be on the rostrum like how the guys did it in the Olympics, and to have had your flag flying over your head with your national anthem. I think any sportsman or woman, that's the moment I think they would treasure. And it was a sort of compensation for me at that time, and maybe for the other guys, you know, who did participate in that, having to have won the World Cup and going home to all that particular adulation. It was like standing on the rostrum in the Olympics, to like maybe to how those guys do feel.
When you started off in Antigua as a kid, what was the cricket like there? How did you come up in cricket in Antigua and catch the eyes of the various selectors?
We in the Leewards, I think, over the years, have had maybe a sort of rough ride into West Indies cricket. But if I can be right in saying that things have changed so much, where maybe for West Indies cricket's future, they may have to look to the smaller islands for the representation and for the sort of talent which I think do possess around those islands. And I played at first for the Antiguan national team. There are so many steps one's got to take, you know, it's like climbing Mount Everest. This is why maybe one can be pleased, you know, that we finally got there and things have changed, because we've got people like the Richie Richardsons, the Curtly Ambrose, and young Hamish Anthony is coming along, people who have played before. So it's with that particular background, leaving the Antiguan national team, then representing the Leeward Islands team, then we form a combined unit. Before, we used to have, the Windward used to join forces with the Leewards, and we used to call it the Combined Islands. So with that, we formed the team to play against the Barbados and the Trinidads and the Guyanas and things. And we went from there. When we played Chelsea, which it was called then at that time, we would go from there maybe to represent the West, maybe in the President's 11. That's another step towards representing the West Indies. And then you can get your final selection. So it's a long sort of a process, but I think at the end, if you do reach your goal, it's something that you would most certainly treasure.
And through all this, when all this was happening, what about your parents and the support you got from them?
Well, my mother, she was always pretty supportive, even though my father, he too, but they went off to live in the States at the time. And my father always wanted me to end up with a sort of a career. Not maybe a career with a cricket bat or anything like that with pads on, but a career maybe having something on some paper saying that
jacket and tie
business, you know, like
letters after your name.
But I also was quite interested in electrical engineering, and my father had seek some opportunities for me to go to the States and accomplish what I had shown interest in. And I totally disappointed him by not going, but I think I can maybe look back now and say that this is what obviously I wanted. I was pleased, you know, that in the end he gave me the support, which I think every parent should. And I'm here today, so I'm very thankful for him with the support, even though at first, you know, he wasn't at all pleased with what I wanted to do.
Now, Trinidad, we're in an astonishing display of hitting He made 82 from only 39 balls in another one-dayer. A slight change of pace. We'll move on to a test match in Antigua, which in fact looks a little bit like a limited overs game. 100 of 56 balls, the fewest ever in a test match. And all I can tell you is I'm glad I wasn't on the receiving end out in the centre of the ground.
Why I think that has a special sort of a place in my heart, because knowing I'm one of the town boys, and going back to your hometown, you would most certainly want to show off in front of your home crowd. I think every young man would want to do something like that. And we had a packed house. It's not the biggest sort of arena in the world, but it's a vibrant sort of a place, you know, where you get lots of noises, notably music, and a sort of a carnival spirit. And we needed to get some quick runs to maybe give England a chance to bat that same evening, to see if we could make some inroads. And Gordon Greenwich, who I think couldn't make it, opening the second innings, and Richie went in. And I decided to put myself up the order a little bit, because we weren't moving that quickly. And as you think, if you are the captain, you should try maybe and go out and lead from the front. And what a marvelous place for it to have happened than right in Antigua.
Well, this is what we're going to look at now. The fifth test match in Antigua, 110 in all, 100 of 56 balls, the fewest ever in test match cricket for a century.
John Embry suffering there, and then the first of half a dozen sixes as Ellison sees a perfectly respectable delivery dispatched from the middle of the bat. They always say that the best batsmen let the top hand dominate their shots. Richards puts that theory to the ultimate test. A six that time, and then the one-arm bandit struck again for a 4. Embry must have been wondering what to bowl next. A full toss was not the answer. Ian Botham found that his 354 test wickets counted for nothing when he bowled to Richards. A mighty blow into the top tier of the stand. Graham Gooch could have perhaps chosen a more diplomatic moment to offer a plan to Botham, who seemed to be suggesting that Gooch's best hope of taking a catch might be to go to the region of row E, seat 26. He settles for 3 men in the arc between long off and deep extra cover. And then he bowls a slow half volley outside leg stump, and that too goes for 6. A high percentage of Richards' runs had come in boundaries, but refreshments were still in order for batsman and bowler alike. And that was all that slowed Richards down as he went to his century with a perfectly controlled sweep off middle stump. If Richards could have chosen anywhere in the world to score a century like this, his home ground in St John's, Antigua, would have been the venue, and the crowd gave him a rapturous reception. Richards' second 50 took just 21 balls, and in all he struck 6 sixes and 7 fours. And this was the last 6 before the end of the innings.
Now, Viv, in 1987-88 against Pakistan in the third test, you made over 100 runs in the match, and in the course of that became the 9th batsman ever to reach 7,000 runs. That was in your 94th test match, quite a number of tests there. and you're just a couple of years away from what you regarded as being your retirement from Test match playing in England. What about the statistical side of the game? 7,000 runs in your 94th Test match. How significant?
I think maybe not because of the people who you think you may have passed, achieving whatever. You want to know that the people who came through the turnstile were fully rewarded with what they saw. Because I've always thought and looked upon myself as being maybe a salesman of the game, to try and encourage as much people to, if they see Viv Richards go out and perform, not just maybe batting, but whatever I'm participating in on the field, to say that they had their values, to leave that particular memory, not wanting your sport to go down as one of the most dreariest of sports that were ever played, but for the excitement that they saw, that they knew that they got their money's worth. But achievements, it's nice to know that it's there, but maybe the way you play, your style, the way you like to go out and do things, to feel that you were satisfied the way you done it. And if doing it the way you done it, and knowing that you always aimed at the top and for the very best, you would expect people to feel that same way as well.
Well, in the 1988 tour of England, first Test match at Trent Bridge, you went past Greg Chappell's aggregate. We can have a look at that now in the course of the 80 you scored, and 72 in the second Test match at Lord's. It's a brilliant stroke. A beautiful stroke. Simply racing across this outfield, dampened by the heavy rain earlier in the day. I think that was a mistake. Not on Richards' part, but on Dilly's.
Paul Jarvis from the pavilion end to Richards. Oh, dear, dear. As soon as a player of this class sees width, throws the bat at it, 4 runs. High over cover, tremendous bludgeoning blow by Richards. What does a young man do?
55th over of the West Indies innings, Pringle to Richards. That's the 50. That's his 8th half-century against England. Also got 800s.
Beautiful stroke, first ball off Embury. Richards, when Embury came on yesterday evening, took to him straight away.
Beautiful stroke. Really, John Embury just hasn't got his line right at all, and anything the least bit loose, Richards rocking back there and hitting that like a rocket square.
Very dark over there. Only just got play started this morning. the heavens opened. Start again at 2 o'clock. Oh, it's about the 4th tier, I think, of the stand away on the right. It's just out of our view, but I know it went a long way over the rope.
Defratus to Richards. And that's out. Fine catch. Richards thought one was there for the drive. And he's paid the penalty. Great innings.
It's cleared. It's 6.
There he goes. He's full this time. Pringle to Richards. Oh, what a beautiful shot. Just a flick, but 4 all the way.
Great shot from Richards. Just needs the slightest straying in direction from Gladstone Small. Richards to whip that away in front of square leg. Lovely stroke. And he's followed that stroke past square leg with a lovely straight drive in the air. But no thought of anyone catching it. They've just got to go and fetch it.
Ball's now beginning to get a little bit worn, which is not surprising.
And that was a better shot than anything else we've seen played today. With 2 men stationed back on the drive, one at mid-off, one at mid-on. It went past the bowler and between those two, just like a rocket. Very sensible from Gladstone. Every chance Richards would have been waiting for that. The short one to follow the 3 boundaries it just struck. And that's brought up Richards' half-century. It's a terrific shot. Richards is really giving it some hammer out there now. And he's gone. The breakthrough comes. Richards, a little assist from him, I suspect. 72 in the 2nd Test match at Lord's and the first victory of the series for the West Indies. Your first time as captain, Viv, and 4-0 in the series. A wonderful short innings, though not a century. 100th first-class century of his career came against my old state, New South Wales, at the Sydney Cricket Ground, which leads into the Australian Tour of the Caribbean in 1990-91. More milestones, 8,000 runs on the 1st of March, and passing Sir Garfield Sober's record of 8,032 during that Test series. That was a tough encounter with the Australians, billed in all quarters as for the World Championship of Cricket, and it was a very, very good series of matches.
We have always had a lot of respect for the Australians when it comes to competing. They're the most gutsiest of cricketers that I have ever played against, and it's maybe because of the way they played against England as well too. They just demolished England, I think, at home, and most certainly a lot of people did thought at the time, you know, that if West Indies were going to be beaten, this is the chance, and no other team were going to do it, but Australia. And I think maybe that maybe helped in a way to stem some sort of bad blood, but not forgetting maybe the wonderful contributions, you know, that were made by members of both teams for the fierce sort of cricket, you know, that that were played. But I think what changed the whole complex of that trip, because Australia just demolished us in the one-day games, which seems to be a regular thing these days. But then after, Richie played that magnificent knock at border within that time, and he done it so quickly that it gave us a chance to get a big score and get them quickly.
One of the best innings I've ever seen.
Wonderful knock, wonderful knock. And with that, when Richie finished that, we all in a place, we were happily placed, and even though it was a flat sort of a track in Guyana, the guys, I thought, had the sort of a confidence that they thought with the runs that Australia were behind, that we were able to bowl at them. And certainly we did put the pressure with the runs that we had. And the guys got some quick wickets early on. I think we got 7 wickets, like on the fourth evening. And by getting those wickets, it helped, I think, to set things up on the last day for us to have won, I think, maybe our first test match in Guyana for how many years?
Well, it was a great achievement, and it brought you across to England in 1991. Now, when you arrived here, I said, looking at you from a distance, that's you personally, that I thought if you set yourself to bat in every innings as though West Indies were about to be beaten, that you would probably have a terrific tour. As it turned out, you made a half-century in every test match, which I thought was a terrific performance, the way the games went.
Oh, what a great shot. Oh, vintage Richards.
Wow, well, it was short. I'm not quite sure he was playing it exactly there, but it went quickly enough. It's his 4th boundary. And that's why he was waiting for the ball of full length, and it's 6. So this is a crucial stage of the innings, both for Vivian Richards and for England. Oh, that's a big hit. Now that he really did mean, and really did middle. Previous one, he got a little high on the splice. But that one exactly where he meant. Well, it's a fine 50. He's got there with his 5th 4.
Now he's 61. Great shot by Viv Richards. Short and asking for it, but it still has to be hit and placed. Nice way to get yourself off the mark. Four more. Beautiful shot. Cooper played one a little while ago. That was quite sensational, but no better than that. That went through mid-wicket, whereas Hooper's went straight over square leg.
That's high, sliced away by Richards, and 4 runs. Well, that was just dismissed from his presence.
There's Viv Richards. Gets him to 50. Devon Malcolm, what should have been a sharp single, has turned into, in fact, 4 runs. Great reception, and that's why. 63 balls, under an hour and a half, a 6 and 7 falls. That's a lovely shot. Really was a lesson in timing and placement. No ball call. And that's another 4.
One thing he might do, bowling from that far end, is drift into the right-hander, which will give Viv Richards a chance to play him through the onside.
Well, and that's for the other side, and Illingworth's yielded a few boundaries, and it must be said they've had a bit of a dash at him because he's a key member of Gooch's 4-man attack.
That's not quite where Viv Richards intended it, but it's still his half-century and a very valuable innings for West Indies. They were in trouble. Richards has come out there and played in very responsible fashion. A beautiful 6. A wonderful stroke by Vivian Richards against the off-spinner.
The chase is in vain, and the outside edge of Viv Richards' bat brings him another 4. And the 100 partnership comes up between Vivian Richards and Gus Logie. That's up in the air, and with some good fortune, Richards escapes. It went a lot further than I imagined at first. It was not a good shot, played on the up and swished away over mid-wicket.
There's a big hit. Now Viv is really opening up. It's a 6.
We had some sticky times, like notably the test match we won up at Edgbaston, where we were struggling at 23 for 3 and having to walk out, knowing in that particular game that we had the upper hand throughout that game, and to know that we were facing what looked like defeat, because within you do feel defeat, and then you've got to pull yourself together. You'll say, wow, no, I've got to hang in here, and I've got to make my responsibilities count. And with that, wanting maybe this to be a happy sort of a trip, in a sense where one went unbeaten as captain, not without maybe the help from all the wonderful guys, you know, who did support me throughout my career. And with that particular feeling, I decided there was another feeling that just came over, and saying, Viv, this thing can be achieved. And what more so to have had maybe a player who I think is going to be a wonderful player for West Indies in the future, in Carl Hooper at the other end. He played magnificently well, and he gave maybe an old soldier like myself the sort of support coming from a youngster of 25 years of age. It was marvelous. He showed me a thing or two at his best.
Just seem that now the seamers are being over-bowled. Very short, straight boundary. Even Chris Lewis, the quickest fielder in the side, couldn't make anything of that. So 2 successive 4s, and suddenly 10 off the over. There's very little left, even if Gooch turns to Illingworth. how Richards greets him. That's 50. A straight salute to the dressing room. He hasn't just delivered 50 to the dressing room, but well on the way towards the Test match as well. Fine innings.
It's 4 more. It's a good shot too. Quite a good way to do it. Could hardly be straighter down the ground for 6. To win the match, take a 2-1 lead in the series, so they can't be beaten, West Indies. The series could be drawn by England if they win at the Oval. The West Indian players leave no doubt in anyone's mind what they think about Richards having taken the score from 24 to 157 with Carl Hooper. Carl Hooper will be there somewhere. But I reckon they sent Richards out with instructions, you know what you have to do, Captain. And now to the Oval for the final Test match of this enthralling series. First, a presentation by the West Indies Cricket Board to Vivian Richards.
No ball. And just stroked away. That ball. Realistically impossible for a ball to gather pace, but the fielder made no impression on it. That was only just pushed away. Well, that one was hit a little harder than the first boundary he scored. That's a lovely shot. The footwork made that. That was an all-run 4, and the crowd don't know it, but that has preserved Viv Richards, assuming this is his final Test match, with a career average of 50. Even should he get out. And it also means as well, which the crowd was applauding, that the deficit has been wiped out, and West Indies now are effectively 1 run for 4 wickets. Well, he's signing off for lunch in the right way.
That's a marvellous stroke. Philip de Freitas just pitched a little bit short, and Richards hammered him away through mid-wicket.
And just look at the sky formations above there, the dark grey clouds. Play goes on. Nothing wrong with the light now, they say.
And for the first time in this Test match, it'll be Botham bowling to Richards. Is 50. Acknowledgement to the dressing room first, then the crowd, as well as 24 hundreds for the West Indies, 45 50s. There might be another one there. top, and Lawrence gets his third wicket. Well, what a way to go.
A wonderful moment there for Vivian Richards, holding up the Wisden Trophy, and the West Indies have retained it in that 2-all drawn series with England. A great credit to the two captains as well as the teams, the way the cricket was played in that series. The biggest crowd I've seen on the last day of a test match in England since 1953, when England regained the Ashes. Well, Viv, never beaten in a test series, 50 test matches, 26 wins and 9 defeats. What's the future hold for Vivian Richards?
As you know, I've got 2 years left with Glamorgan, and wanted to try my utmost to generate whatever interest I have in cricket, to see whether we can come up trumps winning something. And after that, well, I think it's the basic thing, trying to get back home to Antigua. And I thought maybe with what I've learned from traveling around the world and meeting the various sport organizers and things like that, that one could generate some interest maybe in the political side of that in Antigua, because I do think that we need to maintain the particular presence of West Indies cricket, maybe for how we do feel as a nation of people, because we tend to all show lots of support when the West Indies team comes together. And if these things, can be maintained, it can help to cherish the wonderful sort of a harmony, which I think cricket has spread through our regions. And whatever part one can play in seeing that is continued, well, I'll be on the road then.
Vivian, thank you very much.